Let's talk about a company called Gravita India. Now, on the surface, they're a pretty big deal in the recycling world. But when you start looking at their financial numbers, well, something just doesn't quite add up. It's a real puzzle, and trust me, we're going to crack it together today. So here's the big question, right? How on earth can a company's profits grow so much faster than its sales? I mean, imagine you run a shop, and you tell me your sales are going to go up by 25%, but your final profit will jump by a whopping 35%. Sounds a bit strange, doesn't it? So what's the secret sauce here? How is Gravita doing this? All right, let's jump right into this financial head scratcher and see what's really going on with their numbers. Okay, so this is the company at the center of it all, Gravitas India. They're a really big name in the recycling game. Think of them as experts in turning old junk and waste into valuable stuff. But like I said, it's not just what they do, it's how their money works that's so interesting. And look, this is coming straight from them. The company itself is saying, hey, expect our revenues to grow by about 25%. But then they say, and expect our profits to grow by 35%. That's a huge gap. And this isn't some one-time thing. It's their whole game plan. This is the exact puzzle we need to solve. What is going on? Okay, so to solve any mystery, you got to go back to the basics. So what does Gravita actually do day to day? Well, they're into a bit of everything, really. Their bread and butter is recycling lead, from old car batteries and industrial batteries. But they don't stop there. They also handle aluminum, plastic, and even rubber from old tires. And get this, they're not just an Indian company. They have plants all over the world, especially across Africa. All right, you ready for the big reveal? The secret sauce, the key that unlocks this whole puzzle is one word: arbitrage. This is their superpower. And honestly, it's a pretty genius move. So what the heck is arbitrage? Don't let the fancy word scare you. The funda is super simple. It's just buying something cheap in one market and selling it for a higher price in another. Think about it like this. You go to a village and buy amazing mangoes for, say, 50 rupees a kilo. Then you bring them to a big city and sell them for 100 rupees. That extra 50 rupees you made, that's your profit from arbitrage. Simple, right? So how is Gravisa playing this mango game, but with metal? Let's walk through it. Step 1, they collect scrap metal, like those old batteries at their plants in Africa, and do some initial processing on it. Step 2, their team, which is constantly watching the market, spots an opportunity. They see that the price they can get for this metal is much higher in India compared to, let's say, Europe. So, step 3, instead of selling it there, they ship this semi-finished material from their own African plant to their own Indian plant. And finally, step 4, they do the final processing here in India and sell it for that higher Indian price. Boom, arbitrage profit. And hey, don't just take my word for it. Listen to what the CEO of Gravita, Yogesh Malhotra, said himself. He explained that when they move products into India like this, it doesn't really show up in the main sales number, the revenue, but it definitely shows up in the profit margins. And that, he says, is exactly why there's a difference. Straight from the horse's mouth. Okay, so here's the final piece of the puzzle, the real aha moment. When a company reports its total finances, any sales between its own departments, like from its African plant to its Indian plant, get canceled out. Think of it like moving money from your left pocket to your right pocket. You haven't really made any new money, right? So in the accounting books, the revenue doesn't really go up. But, and this is the important part, the extra profit they make by selling at a higher price in India, that absolutely gets counted. And that, my friends, is how their profits are growing way faster than their sales. Mystery solved. So, now that we know their secret, let's see what they're actually doing with all that extra profit. Because trust me, they have some really big plans for the future. And I'm not kidding when I say big. We're talking about a whopping 1,225 crore rupees. That's the amount they've set aside just for expansion and new projects all the way up to 2028. That is a huge amount of money, and it shows they're dead serious about growing even bigger. And what's really cool is they're not just doubling down on what they already do well. Nope, they're looking at the future. They're getting into recycling lithium-ion batteries, the kind in all our phones and, more importantly, in electric cars. Plus, they're also moving into paper and steel recycling. This tells you they're not just thinking about today, they're planning for tomorrow. And it's not just their own smarts. They've got a massive tailwind helping them along. Government policies are now pushing the whole recycling industry to become more organized. This means that the smaller, unorganized players are facing more rules, while big, established companies like Gravita are in the perfect position to benefit. It's a huge opportunity for them to grab an even bigger piece of the pie. Okay, so everything sounds amazing, right? a clever strategy, big growth plans. But, every story has two sides. So we have to ask, what are the risks here? What could possibly go wrong? Well, for one, what if new technology makes lead-acid batteries useless? That's their main business. But as we saw, they're already thinking ahead and getting into lithium-ion recycling. Okay, what if import or export rules suddenly change? Well, that's why having plants in India and other countries gives them flexibility. And the biggest one? What about the crazy ups and downs in metal prices or currency rates? The company says they have that covered with something called 100% hedging. It's basically like buying insurance against price swings so they don't get caught off guard. So that brings us to the big question at the end of all this. Is Gravita's clever arbitrage strategy a real game changer, maybe even the future of global recycling? Or is it a really complicated balancing act, one that could get pretty risky in a world that's always changing? It's a fascinating strategy for sure. What do you guys think? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to read them.